Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're going to take a look at a very, very low cost mechanical keyboard which might be absolutely perfect for you or perhaps a gift for someone else. Now there are some slight caveats of this. It isn't perfect, but it is extremely cheap. Now I managed to pick this one up from AliExpress for somewhere in the region of about £17, including shipping costs and taxes, which I think is absolutely fantastic for a 60% keyboard, which has Outemu Red switches, mechanical, looks very nice, lots of RGB, and actually is a pretty nice keyboard overall. Now this particular model is the Machenike or Machenike, or I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce it, but this is the K500 B61. There's actually a lot of different versions of this available on the market. Because the company likes to make them for all different regions, there's various different types, so do pay close attention to the links in the video description, of which they will possibly be affiliated, so we may generate a small commission from any purchases made. But obviously this is less than 20 quid, so we're not going to be getting rich anytime soon. So the K500 B61, 60% keyboard with 61 keys, comes with Outemu switches. Now I've actually gone for the Outemu Red switches. It's also available in brown and blue switches, should you wish, all of which are hot swappable. These are using 3-pin hot swappable switches, so if you want to swap out for some Cherry MXs or your favourite brand of switch, you're more than welcome to do so. Obviously that will increase the cost somewhat, but it is an option. The switches we've got here, the red ones, red Outemus, they are using a 45-gram force. They are a linear switch and are 2.4mm to the actuation point, and then a full 4.4mm for the total travel. Also, this particular model has ABS keycaps, although again depending on which version you get and which country you're in, they do actually versions of this with ABS keycaps as well, all of which are double shot, so you have a nice legend which shines through, and obviously depending on which version you go for, some will have a slightly more thocky sound rather than a slightly higher pitch if you go with the ABS models. The keyboard itself supports 100% anti-ghosting and has NKRO, full N-key rollover support. There's 20 built-in presets for RGB lighting, of which there are 16.8 million possible color combinations, and also it can be controlled in either software, which we won't be showing you today, but you can download software from their website to control the RGB lighting and do specifics with it, or you can just use the hotkeys on the keyboard itself. So for those of you that don't like installing any software for your keyboards, you don't have to, which is great news. So let's go ahead and take a look at the packaging. So when it comes to the box, this is basically what pretty much all of the keyboards from this brand come like, in this very typical branding for them. As you can see, it's the K500. The model is stated on the back as well, also with some of the key features. Now when it comes to what is actually included in the box, so you get the keyboard itself, as you'd expect, which we'll take a slightly closer look at shortly, but you also get some accessories included, such as a keycap puller. You also get a switch removing tool, and also there are a couple of spare switches. Depending on which model you get, you'll get a couple of extra spares. So I've got 2 extra red switches for this specific model. Obviously if you go for the brown, you'll get a couple of browns. If you go for the blues, you get a couple of blues, etc, etc. Also included there is a leaflet or pamphlet which tells you what some of the keystrokes do, which is actually very useful because if you go to their website, there's basically no information whatsoever and nothing you can actually download, which is a little bit of a shame. But I'll put the descriptions on the screen now so you can see what some of the keys will actually do. This is actually really important, especially with a 60% keyboard or smaller keyboards, because obviously you don't have as many keys. You don't have things like a dedicated delete key, backspace, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, having the extra function keys available to go through and do other functions is great. So for instance, if you wanted to do any of the F keys like F1, F2, etc., press and hold the function key and press numbers 1 through to 0, etc. You get the general idea. So the top row are your function keys with the function modifier. Also, if you press the function key, you can go through and change lighting styles and also color preferences. So Alt and function, you can cycle through the various lighting styles which are available, of which there are 20. So you can go through and choose something which is suitable for you. But if you're someone who just wants a static color, don't worry, they've got you covered as well. So press the function key and the space bar, and then you'll get the RGB modifier notification on the space bar. Then you can see the entire color palette. So if you want something maybe green to match in with the green keycaps you've got here, press your preferred color and it'll come up. And as you can see, we've got this really nice kind of mint green look now, which ties in really nicely with those extra keycaps which are on there. This is actually a really good way of doing it. I like this, and it's very easy to do. If you want to change the brightness, you can use the function and the M key, and you can cycle through the various levels of brightness. And also if you want to change the speed, if it's a different effect on there, you can choose function and the page up or the other arrow. So that's pretty good, no problems there. Again, a lot of the keys actually have their own stamping on them, so it tells you what they are as well. So again, if you want to do sort of page up or page down, function key and the keys there, you get the general idea. It's pretty straightforward. A lot of manufacturers do this, and it's nice to see that the legend is actually on the keycaps. Now, one specific thing about this particular version, the reason why I think it's actually cheap, is because this is actually in, I believe, to be the Portuguese or Brazilian layout. So the keys don't quite match up with us here in the UK, but it does have a full-size enter key, which some people may prefer. I personally do, being I'm in the UK, very used to that muscle memory for that. So that's fine. But what you can do, even though this is set up in the Portuguese or Brazilian language, you can, of course, if you want to, go out and buy a set of UK keycaps, which I've actually done here. So this bag of keycaps is another spectacular bargain on AliExpress. I picked these up for somewhere around the sort of £8 to £9 mark. There's about 130 keys in here, so this will do full-size keyboards, 10 key lists, etc, etc. But it's got the full UK layout, and these are actually pudding style caps. You can get various different colours in this as well. Again, I'll put links in the video description so you can check those out, but loads of options there. So for a total price of less than £30, you can have a keyboard tailored pretty much exactly to your needs, which I think is absolutely brilliant. So let's take a little tour of the keyboard. So obviously the layout we've seen already. The top deck is metal, the rest of it is all a plastic surround. There's very limited actual branding on here as such, so there is a very small logo on this front section, which is kind of tapered down, so you're unlikely to see it. And also on the back, you've got the same sort of thing. So you've got the K500 logo and the branding there, so that's pretty cool. On the left-hand side, there's a USB Type-C connection, so that is detachable. So if you want to put your own cables on there, be it a coiled aviator style cable or whatever you want, the choice is yours. It does come with a USB cable included in the packaging, which is this grey one, which matches quite nicely with the theme and is also right angled as well. That is pretty much it for connectivity. There is actually a wireless version of this available, which is the K500 B61W. That one is a tri-mode, so Bluetooth, wireless and wired. That one is considerably more expensive, so we're not really going to cover that in any depth here, but it is potentially an option. On the back, you've got some feet on there, so if you want to raise up the typing angle slightly, you can do. And even though this is an extremely budget keyboard, it still has rubber pads on the bottom and also on the leg as well, so it keeps it nice and sturdy whilst on your desktop. And yeah, it's got a pretty nice feel to it overall. The keycaps themselves have got a nice OEM style to them, so some people may appreciate that. And actually I think the font on them is actually pretty good as well, so nice and clear and easy to read. And of course with the shine through caps makes it even easier, even in darker situations. When it comes to switches and stabilizers, of course, this is an extremely budget keyboard, so don't expect too much. But the Outemu Reds are not too bad at all. They have a little bit of wiggle and a bit of travel in them, so yeah, they're not perfect, but again, for £17 or so, you can't really expect much more. There's a little bit of wobble to the keys themselves, and the stabilizers aren't the best, but again, it is extremely cheap, so kind of temper your expectations. When it comes to the typing experience, again, because they are full-size keys, even though it is a small keyboard, just condensed down, very easy to use. And in terms of the noise, I'll do some typing out so you can hear what it actually sounds like. So you can hear it. It's not perfect, but it is mechanical, which a lot of people do like. And again, if you're maybe considering purchasing one of these for maybe your children, or just for an additional keyboard, or just something to play with, so you can take it apart and do modifications, you can lube up the switches, do things with the springs, change out the switches if you want to, maybe put some foam padding in there just to reduce some of that pinging noise, then potentially you can do. And again, if you break it, it's less than 20 quid, so it isn't the end of the world. Whereas if you're spending somewhere near £100, like on a keyboard, the one we've got behind, it's a little bit more of a daunting prospect if you are considering doing some modifications. So overall, my final thoughts on this, keyboard wise, yeah, it's not perfect, but it's very usable indeed. It's got nice responsive to it. It's relatively lightweight as well, around about 400 grams, so if you want to maybe throw this in your backpack and take it with you to a LAN centre or to your friend's house, or maybe you just want to use it on an Xbox or something and you just want something which isn't going to take up a great deal of room, then I think this is the perfect choice and pretty much the perfect price. And even if you want to change out the keycaps at some point, again, it's not going to be overly expensive. With the options we've got from AliExpress, they really do seem to be coming out with some absolutely cracking bargains. And it used to be one of those things where buying from AliExpress was filled with dread and terror, and you never knew if things were going to turn up. A lot of things now turn up basically within a week's time, and also there's guarantees, and of course if you're using things like PayPal and credit cards, you've got all the protections that you would normally get from them anyway. So yeah, overall I think this is a cracking deal. Very worthwhile, and if you just want to mess around with a keyboard, do some modding, it's a very inexpensive way of doing it. But that's my thoughts on it. I'd love to hear what yours are, so please fire away in the comment section. Let me know what you think of the Machenike K500 B61 keyboard. I think that's going to wrap this one up. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.